people because relationship is key. You cannot win souls by talking God, because we get to that point of Christianity where like, oh my God, what? As I was just getting to my parking spot, I just felt the Holy Spirit talk to me. Everything becomes about God. But if we shut up about God, will people still see God in you? That's the question. Do you look like the God that you claim to be? Because it's like, I think about it like relationships, because we're in a singles group, we can talk relationship example. Like when I was in school, like getting girls seemed easy. You just watch them now, you just talk a little bit, some sweet lines. I did acting, so you will do some Shakespeare, you talk some romantic lines, and it's easy because you don't have to show them anything. They like potential. You're talking potential, it sounds sweet. But when you get to, I finished university, I'm looking for jobs, all these kind of things. Now they want to see, what are you achieving with those words that you spoke? What are you actually doing? Because we go there, we'll talk God, but if you don't look like him, how are you going to win somebody over? How are you going to tell somebody that this God that I serve, I've been saying all these things, but when they look at you, they know that you're swearing for them in your head? We need to learn to look like the thing that we're claiming. Another example for me is, if I come here and you don't know me, but you hear my name, my assumption is that you might know my father, you might know my uncle. If you don't know me, everything that I do reflects on that person. We are ambassadors of Christ, therefore he is our father. If we are going there claiming to be Christians, what do we look like? Are we representing God in a good fashion? Are we speaking with him? Are we that kind of, like, people will see me and be like, I felt that spirit. Like he just walked past and I just felt this, like the spirit just hit me. What does it actually look like when you're living this life? So that's number one. Unity in the faith is the next point. So, unity, man. Unity feels like the hardest thing for Christians to do. I'm going to quickly read Ephesians 4:3-6. Do your best to preserve the unity which the Spirit gives by the means of peace that binds you together. There is one body, one Spirit, just as there is one hope to which God has called you. There is one Lord, one faith, one baptism. There is one God, Father of all, who is Lord of all, who works through all and is in all. Paul talks about so many examples of one. Like he lists them out, there's 7 of them: one body, one Spirit, one hope, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God. The amount of times that one comes up, it's like we need to realize that we are meant to be one. And Christians are really bad at realizing that we are one. We'll be one in church, that's cool. But the church has become this kind of place where we're so quick to criticize. So if you're busy criticizing another, when you go outside of church, are you really going to talk to the Christian? I realize myself, if I go somewhere and I meet a Christian, I'll be like, hi, nice to meet you, but I'm not trying to be your friend. Let's go and meet the next person. We see unity in other places. Why is there so much unity amongst other people, but the church don't have any of the unity? It seems to me like the world realized the importance of unity more than the church does. In the book of Genesis 11, I'm not going to read it, but on the day of the Tower of Babylon, all these people, they came together. They said, we do not want to be scattered. So let's build a tower that goes up to the height of heaven so that we can be glorified. Now their motive and their heart was wrong. It was for self-glorification. But nowhere in the Bible, nowhere in that chapter does it say that these people could not have built the tower going all the way up to heaven. God realized the power of unity. So he said, let me scatter them. Let me change their tongues. He didn't take away their skill set. They had the ability and the talent and the skills required to build that tower. But they did not have the unity anymore. He scattered them and they did not have the unity to do what they needed to do. But us in church, as it is, the skill set is there, the unity is missing. When are the church going to come together? Recently, I started a fellowship for Christians in the entertainment industry because I realized that the entertainment industry is such a powerful thing. So I feel like God has called me to be there. It's a powerful thing, it's a powerful vessel. People have achieved so much. When television was originally created, it was created to advertise. They were trying to sell you something. Then they said, let's put a story around this thing that I'm trying to sell you. And then you will be washed small. So tell me, it's not an accident. When people are creating culture, telling you what is cool, telling you what is hip, telling you how to dress, telling you how to speak, telling you what to do, it's not an accident. How can I therefore think, after hundreds of years of this entertainment industry, that I will just walk into the entertainment as an individual and scatter the whole thing? It's not possible. God calls us to do things together. In Habakkuk 2:2, the Bible says that God told Habakkuk, write down your vision and make it plain, so that those who are attached to it may run with it. That teaches me two things. First, God has to give you a vision. Does your vision come from God? Are you sure that your vision has come from God? The second thing is, there are other people attached to your vision. You have to work in unity to achieve the things that God has called you to achieve. But us, and this is, I don't know whether it seems a problem all over Nigeria. Everybody wants to be the boss. You must be the CEO. If everybody becomes a CEO in this room, who are you bossing? Who are you working? Who is over? Who are you over? If everybody, the person next to you is also the CEO of their own company, and the person on the other side is also CEO of their own company, or everybody is president, we just have our own international, our country will just be our house. Yes. How does it work? There are things and there are times and there are purpose for the things that you are called to do by God. Sometimes you have to be in that lower position in order to learn, in order to grow, in order to manifest, because sometimes your purpose may not be to be the boss. It doesn't mean that God will not give you all the things that you want. Maybe the riches will come, but you might not be the head. You might not be the head. You need to know who you are. You need to know what you're called to do, and you need to be. Because I feel like it's actually about the fact that we too are like the people of Babylon. If I'm honest, maybe not you, but me. We too, we want the glory. We're saying all glory to God, though, but I want my name to be on the head. Like, I want you to say, Adeolu did it for God. You shouldn't just say it was God. Adeolu did it on behalf of God. Like, I want to be the vessel that God used. I don't want you to be the vessel. You are talking, I don't want this, I don't want it. No. That person shouldn't have achieved that thing. It was my own. And recently in that fellowship, we were talking about David and Goliath. And before that, when Samuel was told to go and anoint a new king, and he went to the house and God told him, this is the king, David is the king, and he anointed him. He said immediately, the anointing, as soon as David was anointed, the Spirit of God came on him. And that same Spirit of God left Saul. That told me something. That God will never appoint two people for the same job. He will never appoint two people for the same job. So Saul was still king, but he was no longer king. The position had left him. God had created something that was better because God had entitled and given that position to David. That was his season. We get so jealous. One of the reasons that we want all this glory for ourselves because we want to be the ones to do it. God will never give somebody else your destiny. So don't worry about it. Yes. Don't be afraid to call somebody and say, because one of the worries, I want to start something and I was so hesitant. You know, if you tell somebody, like, in like 5 minutes, you see the person doing that thing. Like, faster than you could even put it together, the person have started. But I'm learning that even if someone is going to steal my own idea, even if they want to do that thing that God has called me to do, they can never do it the way God wanted them to do it because He put that thing for me. Therefore, why be afraid? Why be scared of talking to one another? Because I realize that is probably one of the biggest problems in church. We're afraid to actually trust the people. We're like, if you say this one in church, Linda KG tomorrow. Next thing is knowledge of the Son of God. We claim to be all of these things. We claim to be Christ-like. But do we even know the Christ we came to be like? Or that we seek to be like? We cannot chase or I was having a conversation with my friends just before I came up here about how so much of the things I do is similar to my dad. Like I walk like him a little bit and stuff like that. And it's not because it's genetic. It's because you spend so much time with that person that you start to grow and imitate that person. How much time do you spend with God? How much time do you spend in the Word? Jesus spent time in the Word. At the age of 13, you see him challenging the priest because he knew the Word. He studied the Word. If Jesus studied the Word, why don't you study the Word? How much time do you spend in the Word? And then what was Jesus like? One thing I've realized about Jesus is that he was a rebel. Let's not pretend he was a rebel. We don't call him a rebel when we're studying his word because we're like, he was actually showing us the right way, which is true. But based on everybody's expectation of what things should look like, he was not it. He did not look like the Messiah that they expected, so people did not believe that he was the Messiah. Jesus confounded people because he worked out of love. And the world's expectation or definition of love has become so emotional. More like how you feeling. Is the love oozing from your body? I just felt an emotion from the person. Love has got nothing to do with that. Love is about what are you doing? What are the actions you're doing representing? And because Jesus, he confounded everything. We're not supposed to go near lepers because they are tainted. But Jesus will go and he will heal them. You're not supposed to go near blind because they are tainted. But Jesus will go and he will heal them. And he will touch them. And you're like, why, God? Do you not know, Jesus, that this is not what you're supposed to be doing? You're claiming to be the Messiah, but don't you know what the word says? He knew the word. He understood it. He understood the foundation and the reason of love. We are so worried about going out into the world like Christians, and we judge people based on how they look. But we're called to love the man and not love their sin. And we don't know how to do that. I think we get lost in the misinterpretation of what that could actually be. Like, how do I love someone and not love their sin? By loving them, am I not condoning their sin? But you're not. But it's about finding a way to do it. What did God do when he created the world and he brought light? He spoke light and he brought light out of darkness. He did not bring light to darkness. He brought light out of it. And that's what he did with us. Because if we are light,